What's going on in Slovakia and what is the meaning of these protests that are happening now in many cities of the country? Well, it's very simple and basic. Slovakia has a populist government. The Prime Minister, Mr. Fico, is a person that has used populist strategies, a lot of propaganda to rise to power. He has the backing of Moscow, that is absolutely clear. He's been there before. He promised to solve all the problems of the Slovaks. He didn't do it. He acted like literally a mafia government. And he regained power not that long ago. And now he's taking it a step further. The step further is basically even in the parliament, somebody suggesting that Slovakia should leave the EU. The problem with Slovakia is that the country is very divided into the urban population, which is usually knowledgeable, informed, that supports the EU, that supports the European project overall. They obviously have some criticism, but who doesn't? And then you have the countryside, which is the majority of the population, because Slovakia is still a country where the countryside has a huge role. And the countryside lives on a nostalgia of the communist times, because things were poor but well organized, and everybody was equally poor. And now this countryside, this population has been penetrated by a very well organized set of social media and propaganda and fake news sponsored by Mr. Fico and his allies. I would say paid by Russia as well. And they got very cleverly, they got to that person that usually on the countryside they would not have access or use social networks. They got them to use some of them. Some of those people in the Slovak countryside, they only use social networks. They only have social networks accounts to listen, to be indoctrinated in Fico's propaganda. And the playbook is always the same. The West is to blame for all the problems in Slovakia. European Union is to blame for all the problems in Slovakia. Democracy is corrupt. And almost a disguised invitation that communist times were better. A strong hand, a strong leader is better than a democratic one. And even now with these protests that took place, the Kremlin's playbook was applied perfectly. The government saying it's all sponsored by the West. People are being influenced by Westerners and by the US. It's the same playbook whenever some protests or some revolution takes place that the Kremlin is not happy about. The urban population of Slovakia is well-informed, European, civilized. They know what they want. They understand the difficulties of belonging to a European project, and they also understand the advantages. They want to stay in Europe. Fico wants Slovakia to become some sort of satellite of the Russian influence. And although he has the support of the people in the countryside, he doesn't have it in the urban centers. And that's what these protests are all about. Don't worry, it's not going to happen some coup d'etat in Slovakia. There's no revolution happening there. What people are just saying is that there are limits to the populist rhetoric of Mr. Fico and his allies. There are limits to where he can think and manipulate the population. Let's see if he understands that. Because from an outsider perspective, and someone that actually has family in Slovakia, I can say that he doesn't understand the limits. He's not Mr. Putin. And he's leading a democratic, free society. If he doesn't understand that and he pushes the limits, he may not stay in power for long.